create urgency. Put yourself in situations where your back is up against a wall. Hernan Cortez conquering the Aztecs. His men were trying to get out of committing to the conquering. They were thinking about their wives and the gold and the riches at home. And so what Cortez did to inspire them to put everything they had in the fight was he sunk all the boats.
Burn the boats, baby.
He sunk.
That's the fucking. Oh my god! I love that you said that. Continue.
Yeah, he sunk the boats,
Burn
so
the
there
boats.
is no going
So
home.
badass.
So we win or you all die.
Yeah.
That's how we're doing it. They found that out, and he's just like, well, you could kill me, but that doesn't change the situation.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's what I'm trying to get so many people to do. If you want to build a habit, you burn the boat.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 29th episode of the Conscious Cast. I am your host, Cal, along with my boy, Cole.
Yes.
And my other man, Jay. And today we are going to be talking about a wide variety of topics, from negative emotions to what those emotions represent and how they can serve us and how we can respond to them as well. So we're not cutting any corners. Let's get straight into it. Cole, lead them off.
All right, so as the viewers of this podcast know, I've talked about my struggle with my anger issues for, a multitude of reasons. And recently, like a multitude of reasons, and I was in counseling for it, in therapy. And like I said this before in a previous episode, it's okay to get help. When you hear the end of the story, I will once again encourage to get help. This shit has helped me, God damn, I had it, I lost it. Fucking sleep deprived out here.
Helped you a lot.
Yeah, it helped me a lot. And, you should, if you are in a bad spot, definitely get help. But anyway, back on topic. So essentially, my anger was a byproduct of the bullying that I had experienced when I was younger. And, the pain that I had attached to that emotion. Because, I was pissed that all these guys were giving me shit back when I was in middle school. And, it manifested itself in this, aggressive, need for revenge. I deep down, I was, to a degree, I felt that I was pissed at myself that I didn't just punch those kids in the face and, just make them afraid of me. Because it's part of me didn't want to be that weak kid anymore. Because it was easier to be something that they were afraid of. It was easier to be a monster than it was to be the scared little kid that they had shit on. And, I had to, for a while, judo in the gym was just a source of venting, releasing that violent chaos that was within me. And, it was exhausting fighting that every day, because the slightest thing could have set me into that rage. But I kept it under control because I was always venting it every day. And, but then when all working out and martial arts becomes this catharsis, it taints the beauty and, purpose of what those two things were to me. And talking to my therapist about this, they pinpointed where it was coming from and the source of that. Anger as an emotion is not a bad thing. It was the pain that I was attaching to it that was corrupting it into some violent rage and, it's kind of demonic anger. And, I looked at it a different way, what is it trying to teach me? As opposed to, why it's as opposed to letting it hurt me, And I separated the trauma from the emotion, and the emotion kind of reset to the baseline. I forgave myself for letting that trauma hurt me for as long as it did. And then going forward, whenever I start to get hot, I take a step back. I'm like, what is it trying to show me? Because it's for a while it was me sitting around a raging inferno, not a campfire that turned into this wild blaze. and I was too busy being hypnotized by the flame to see what the growing fire was trying to show me in the room. Like a caveman on a campfire. I was looking at the campfire, but when it swelled, I couldn't see the pictures on the cave writings that it was trying to show me. So now I understand that like when I get angry, it's a byproduct of like kind of a cognitive dissonance within myself. I'm like, what is it trying? What am I not doing right now that my anger is trying to show me? And viewing that, I'm not. There's not that underlying heat anymore all the time. And like when I realized it for the first time, like I started crying because it was like for 13 years I had held on to this demon and this anger and this pain and this suffering. And to finally let go, it was like, holy shit. For the first time in 13 years, I'm 100% myself. There's not this dichotomy between me and the demon. I am one now. And it was like this wash of ecstasy that I realized that it's like, holy shit, I'm done. And so I guess what the point I'm trying to make here is, number one, get help. It certainly helped me. And two, I guess be more present in separating your trauma from your emotions, because your trauma can taint those emotions into what they normally should be, is, a necessity of the human experience, and they should be pure, but experiences can taint those emotions. And that's what happened with me. I took all this pain and this malice from being bullied for as long as I was, and I attached it to this emotion, and it poisoned it. But not, it's like it was like poisoning a river. It flows, but now it flows different. It hurts everything it touches as opposed to healing it. And I filtered the water, and now it's pure again. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that was deep, man.
Yeah.
It's just like when you were in the car and when you told me the story
Yeah.
for the first time, you're like, dude, I'm finally free. It's like, it's crazy because so many people do that and they're not willing to get help. They're like, no, I got to do this on my own, and like they can't do it on their own. They really can't, and they need that extra hand around them, whether it be their friends, whether it be a counselor, or just maybe just being open-minded and opening up to someone about it. Like, it is okay, even though it may not appear to be okay. Like toxic masculinity, like a big thing that has for centuries and centuries now, like no, you just gotta shovel your emotions into a hole and never deal with them. Nah, man, that's not how you do it. Like the real men, in my opinion, face their emotions. They face what the fuck is in front of them, deal with it in the here and now through presence, and then over time, it doesn't, similar to you, like become a part of them, and then like it hurts for such a long time. And a big thing that I kind of like picked up on when you were talking, it was like, now like you have that ability to reflect more, right? Now you have that ability to not, like we touched this, become the anger, right? Really,
Yeah.
you're feeling anger. It's that separation that I at least from my opinion, like you've been able to develop, and now that you have as an individual. And so I think that is such a big thing, just because like even yesterday I was in a circumstance where I had, like, everyone has triggers, right? Where it gets them kind of tilted a little bit, and like these similar circumstances will happen again. It was just like between my mom and I, and it was like such a stupid thing, but I even knew it was going to happen too. I was like, I know this is going to get me feeling some kind of way. And so like when she asked me about it, I started to like about this random topic. I was starting to feel that way again, but I was able to like not completely get sucked in. But that emotion is so strong. Yeah. It's so hard to do. And it's like we said this in the episode before, the first time is the hardest time. The first time you don't give into that emotion and you take a step back. And I'm sure you're going to deal with this when anger comes up again. But luckily you have that self-reflection now where you're going to be like, okay, even though this force wants me to act this way, I'm not going to. Because you have that ability to take a step back. You're conscious of what the fuck is going on. You're like, I'm not becoming anger. I'm not becoming this emotion that's going to take me over completely. And I was getting sucked into it a little bit, but then I was like, okay, let me just ride this out for a little bit longer. And then like I immediately just try to do the opposite of what my what my conditioned emotion was telling me to do. And so through that, doing the opposite of what the conditioned emotion wanted me to do, I felt like a whole new type of emotion. I was like, oh, I don't have to act that way, even though it appears as though I have to act that way according to the emotion. And like similar to you, like I used to deal with anger a lot, like fucking raging on Call of Duty. Like I'd be fucking pissed. Like I mean, I would fucking rage, screaming at the top of my lungs. Like shit was bad, man. It was really fucking bad. But you know, as time went on, meditation and just like different types of being in the moment activities really, like, I mean, when I say this, it fucking changed my life. Meditation changed my life. And whether it be just changing your environment, whether it be changing what you place your attention on, I think that is really what first I gotta identify it, and then you, like similar to the situation I was in, you begin to make that change, and then the first time is the hardest time, but you'll start to notice different effects as time goes on.
I think the big thing is like separating the emotion from the message that it's trying to send you. Because anytime anybody feels any negative emotion, all it is a message. It's saying something's wrong and you need to do something to change it, which is why you're feeling the negative emotion. If you're upset, if you're angry, whatever it is, like it's a message. There's a reason you're feeling that way. It's because something needs to change so that you don't run into the problem again. It's the same purpose of memory. Like, why do you remember things? It's not so you can recollect on the past and look back on the good and bad times and be depressed or happy about whatever you did or didn't do or whatever. It's so that you don't run into the same stupid mistakes in the future. That's why you have a memory. But it's the same thing with your emotions. It's like they're all messengers. And if you're feeling pissed off and frustrated, or if you're feeling super depressed and upset, like those emotions are there for a reason. Granted, there's some people that have chemical imbalances and actually are clinically diagnosed with depression, things of that nature. But for an overwhelming majority of the cases, when you're feeling shitty, whatever that specific emotion is, it's because you need to change something. But a lot of times people get so wrapped up in their emotions that not only do they not do anything about it, but they just focus on the things they can't control. And when you do that, you're missing the whole point of the message, because you're just going to focus on what happened to you, or how life screwed you this way, or how this person did you wrong in that way. And you'll just sulk in this anger or this depression or this feeling of sadness, rather than taking out the meaning from it, which is you need to change X, Y, and Z so you don't run into the same problems over and over again. But yeah, negative emotions are just messages.
Yeah, it's like, it's so true, because like when you said there, like you get so wrapped up into the emotion that you feel like you're in a cage and you can't do anything, right? And you don't have any like ability to change or make a difference, or make a different outcome happen, you know? And like that is just so true, because like you said, like in the cave, right? You can't see like the drawings on the wall. You become so clouded. Your vision becomes so clouded by the emotion.
You're too hypnotized by the flame.
Yeah, and like once you're able to begin to have that reflection, your perception of reality begins to change, and it's like it all comes down to your perception, you know. And like your emotion will grab your fucking perception by the neck and like hold it there, but through your ability, and it's like a strong ass grip, but through your ability to take a step back, reflect, like that chokehold becomes looser and looser.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm trying to think of like what material it is, but it's like, you know, the more pressure you put into it, the harder it becomes. And it's the same thing with your emotion. The more you resist the flow, the more you'll be struggling against it, the more you'll miss the picture.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's like, but the more you ease into it and let it, you know, try and show you something, then you can kind of go through it. And it's like, to put it in kind of like, I told Calvis in the car on the way here, it's like, to put it in kind of the warrior aspect, it's like even the greatest swordsmen get cut fighting their own blade. It's the same thing with emotions, you know. And it kind of affected my performance in judo for a while, because I thought, you know, I could rely on it to give me power, but it was just kind of muddying the waters in my competition. And it was like, you know, I wasn't fighting my opponent because I was too busy fighting my anger. It was a piece of myself, but it took on a different life. But, you know, I can see my opponent in front of me truly, and not have to worry about this entity of emotion like blocking my way, but instead showing me the way. And it's like moving forward, now that I'm aligned in this manner, I can truly, move forward as a singular being. But the problem I've been dealing with lately is staying present, because I get easily caught up in the next thing a lot.
And emotions can take you out of the present moment.
Exactly. And I've been working on keeping myself grounded in the moment as opposed to, walking on the clouds that is the future that I'm always thinking about. But instead I should be thinking about now, because if you get too caught up on the next, you lose sight on the now. And the now dictates the next.
100%. Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's everybody's problem. Yeah. Like whether you're stuck in the past or stuck in the future, thinking about what you should have done or how depressed you are because this happened to you or life happened to you or your parents did this to you, or the opposite side of that, which is, well, things are going to get so much better in the future, but things are so bad now, so let's not think about now. Let's not work on things now. Let's just get lost in future me, whether you're going to use drugs or alcohol to escape the present moment. It's like you do that enough times, like you're never going to actually experience anything because your mind is never where your feet are. And if you're never present in the moment, you're missing the whole process. And when you miss the process, you miss out on all of the beauty of life, because joy comes when you're living in the present moment. And people who find themselves either always in the past or always in the future are usually the same people who are always anxious and depressed.
Yeah.
And it's when you don't know how to deal with negative emotions, like have that ability to reflect, like that, you don't have the resources within you to cope with these negative emotions, because I don't care a fuck who the hell you are. Like, to some extent, you're gonna have some type of negative emotions, right? Like you're a fucking human being, all right? And so it's, especially within America, we're speaking from a Western perspective, growing up in a Western civil society. I can't really touch on Eastern society. I'm sure it's way better over there in terms of like how developed they are internally. But over here, and as we all know, within this country, the United States, and probably within our side of the world, we are very internally underdeveloped. And through us being internally underdeveloped, we run into a lot. It's crazy. I said this on a podcast I don't even know. It's like the people in Africa, like they're internally developed, right? But they have externally less, like I have a lower quality life, but yet they're way happier. Right?
What is lower quality mean?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. We're the ones that create that subjective criteria.
Yeah, they don't have Gucci bags.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Yeah, they're low quality life.
life.
Yeah. I guess if you're looking at it more of like a basic needs type of thing, like then that's more of like an objective stance that you could take. But like you said, if it's like, oh yeah, I don't have a house, I don't have a car, or like these people don't need okay, they need like shelter, right? But they don't need when I'm talking about a house, I'm talking about like a 4-bedroom. 2-bathroom.
Right, but what good is $1 billion if you cry yourself to sleep every night?
Exactly.
I'd rather smile in my Toyota than cry in my Ferrari.
Yeah,
but a lot of people have it twisted.
Yeah, and like through us being so internally underdeveloped, like as a nation, there's gonna be so much suffering, right? And so much negative emotions. And then with people not being able to deal with those negative emotions, think about and like energy is contagious. Think about the amount of negative shit they're gonna throw on other people, right? Like I'm grateful for you guys, like I've only ran into a handful of fucking people that are willing to talk about their emotions. Like I could strike up a conversation with any of you guys and not feel like, oh god, like oh man, like I don't want to talk, like you know what I mean, like but when I'm around other people, like for instance, this isn't exactly related. Someone asked me yesterday, like one of my boys, we were playing pool, and he was like, Cal, are you religious? And I was like, I don't know how to fucking answer that. Like, I didn't feel comfortable in that situation. Being like, because I didn't feel secure opening up about spirituality with him, right? But when I'm around you guys, like for instance, if you guys asked me if I was religious, I'd be like, no, I'm not particularly religious, but I think religion holds a lot of truth that I can apply to my own life, right? So I'm in a sense I'm spiritual, but I'm not like attached to any religion.
But what made you not feel like you can open up to somebody?
So it was based on our relationship, right? And the degree of like what we talk about. Like, see, we usually never talk about stuff like that, but like within our relationship, we talk about that type of stuff. It's normal. So imagine a society where talking about, I guess you could say, like religion, emotions, and X, Y, and Z in that area were like normal, right? And we could as friends, we could talk about, like, through our negative emotions, like exactly what we're doing right now. And we can become so much more internally developed as individuals. And then, we're still gonna suffer, right? But over time, we'll suffer so much less.
It brings me back to when you start talking about those kinds of things. It always brings me back to like the do not cast pearls before swine thing. Is because like what I found myself doing, especially like 2-3 years ago when I first started like learning about my mind, started working on myself, started exercising more, started meditating and journaling, doing things that are good for my life, and learning about like things that are I find valuable, not keeping up with the Kardashians. Like when I started.
What are you talking about, bro?
That's literally my favorite show. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Dude.
But ironically,
Kim.
nobody who knows any of that stuff will be watching this anyway.
Exactly.
But that's besides the point.
Kim's spiritual. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she is. Kim, if you're watching, like and subscribe.
Conscious Cast.
Ditch Pete Davison. Come get some of this fucking Lindsay for you.
So, but what I was getting at is like, when I first kind of started, is like I didn't understand that you're not gonna vibe with everybody.
100%.
You're not, and you have to let that shit go. Like, there's a point where when you start working on yourself, you're gonna see the separation between you and everybody else. And it's not that you think that you're better, but you're just mentally in a better place. Like, you feel better about who you are, and you're more confident, and you have more self-respect and more self-love, and you have a better understanding of the world around you. But when you get to that place and you just try and connect with the same people that are in the place that you used to be, there's going to be a serious disconnect there. And when you try and influence them in the same way that you're being influenced by other people, it just doesn't work. It doesn't. Because you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. Like you said on the 25th, 26th episode, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's the same thing. And if you try and vibe with somebody on self-improvement, mindset, mental health, with people who aren't on the same wavelength as you, you're casting pearls before swine. You're not only are you not going to vibe with them and not have a conversation that even like feels right, but you're going to devalue your own word and think like, oh, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I'm not right with this. Maybe I shouldn't even be mentioning any of these things. Like, maybe my philosophy on life is wrong. But that's not the case. You're just presenting it to people that can't match your vibe and match your energy with what you're talking about and what you're learning about and what you're being. And that's a big thing that I had to learn was like, you got to stop trying to have these woke-ass conversations with people who aren't working on themselves.
Wasting breath.
But it's not even like you're just wasting your breath. It's counterproductive. You're devaluing your own words.
100%.
You're devaluing your own philosophy to people whose perspectives on life are going to do nothing but make you feel like you're unworthy. You know? Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. It's like you can't be wasting your own time trying to wake up people that are asleep and don't want to be woken up, you know. And it's like, it's a big thing that people don't really understand. Is like, it doesn't take much to get like to really switch yourself around, like, and from like it's been getting told to me a lot recently. It's like from just people around me where it's just like Cole's got his shit together. Cole does this. Cole does that, and it's like, you know, I'm not attached to what they say, obviously, but it's like, it is good to hear.
Yeah.
But it's still that it's just I don't do much. I go to the gym. I take care of myself. I have a structured program. I'm not perfect, but I do what I can to do what I can.
Yeah.
But you know, it does, because I guess the bar has been kind of set so low because everybody's used to.
Yeah. You do one thing and you're like, holy shit.
It's
not saying
wrong.
you do one thing, but
you're not wrong though, because like the bar has been set so low.
God.
Because how many times have you guys heard from other people in my?
I was just about to say that.
It's like everybody's always complaining
Dude.
about my mental health, my problems, my relationship.
I was just about to say that once you started talking about that, because I realized that, especially once I moved in to like on campus and like people are coming into my room and like saying like the thing I get all the time when anybody walks into my room, like an overwhelming majority of people, they'll notice two things and they always comment it. One is my whiteboard. I have everything scheduled out on my whiteboard. It's like it keeps me meticulously neat and like organized. And my bed, and I make my bed every morning and I make it like sort of like military style and it's extremely neat, looks good, like, but it's just a part of my routine. I don't even really think anything of it. But I realized like every single time somebody walks into my room, like majority of the time somebody walks into my room, their jaw like drops as if I'm some god amongst men, which I'm not, and I don't think I am
How long does it take you to make your bed?
It takes me like 2 minutes.
You're a god.
I know, but my point is,
so low.
My point is after I reflected on that, I was like, damn, I am not spending enough time with people that are bringing value to my life. Because the truth of the matter is if this many people that I'm hanging out with are walking into my room and are so mentally and I really am trying my best not to come across like I think I'm better, because I genuinely don't think I'm a better human being than anybody in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. But if enough people are walking to my room that I'm hanging out with and are super blown away by the fact that I'm organized and clean, then I need to reevaluate who I'm spending my time with, because I shouldn't be spending my time with people that are walking into my room saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe you make your bed every day. How can you even do that? How is that even a daily habit?" I should be spending my time with people who walk into my room and don't even think anything of it, because that's their standard for themselves. And the more time you spend with people that have lower standards than you, the more you're going to lower your standards to meet that level, because who you hang around is who you become, and there's no way around that. Yeah. And if you're hanging around people who you find always are putting you on a pedestal because you have a higher standard for your life, you need to find better people to hang around.
Yeah, dude, that's so true. I think a big note that we should put here is like, it's okay if you don't make your bed. All right, we're not. Yeah. What we're saying here is we're not suggesting any type of singular lifestyle, right? Like you know this type of self-growth stereotype, like wake up at 5 a.m, meditate on your bed, journal for 15 minutes,
go to the gym.
Yeah, go to the gym. If you can pick up on what I'm saying, like that stereotype, you don't have to fit that mold perfectly. What we're saying here is just to be aware of your surroundings, right? In a general sense, right? Like, of course, it's good to make your bed. Of course, it's good to meditate, right? But I think if you have different standards than other people, yes, they are different, right? But if you don't feel like making your fucking bed, it's okay, right? But I think also with this, when you're around people that are similar to you, right, and you see people that do make their bed, that do work out, that do things that are preferable for themselves, that is where you should kind of, I feel, be on a track towards, right? Because we're all trying to live a pleasurable life. Yeah. We're all trying to live a preferable life. And when we see people that are different than us, right, that say make their bed, right, and you look at them a little bit differently, and you're just like, wow, like that's weird. You kind of like take some value with it, and you can be like, man, I want to start doing that, because we wake up in the morning, it's made. And then when I go to bed, like I don't have to I don't even know, like it's easier, I don't know. But like we're all trying to move towards a more preferable life, but yes, we all have different standards. And I think just embracing how we all have different lives, right, and different types of standards will allow us to be different, but also move towards a life that's more preferable at the same time. And I just kind of wanted to note that because I know.
100% agree.
Yeah, no, and I know you weren't. I know you weren't trying to get that. I just wanted to directly state that.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people get caught up thinking that when I say that, like, because I bring it up a lot because I have to be straight up with people, like, because I find myself, I'm not trying to seem like I'm fucking paparazzi. I don't have like a ton of people like hitting me up all the time. But like I turn down plans all the time because I don't want to give my influence and my time away to people, because I don't want to give my time and my influence away to people that I don't believe are adding value to my life. And it's not that I don't want to hang out with people that I have fun with and have a good time with, but there's a time and a place. And if I spend enough time with certain people, there's no way around it. It's a law of life. Like, whether or not you want to acknowledge it, that's fine. But if you hang around people that are miserable and complain and don't have self-respect, you're not going to find yourself in any sort of different situation. You're going to be a complainer, you're going to be miserable, and you're not going to have any self-respect. And Ed, do you know who Ed Milet is? He's a personal development speaker, and the way he talks about it is like, your life is kind of like a thermostat, and your thermostat represents your standard that you have for your life. And let's say that I'm a 75 degreer, and that's how I live my life, where I sort of, I get things done. I go to work, I get my schoolwork done, I'll work out every now and then, maybe I'll clean my room once a month or something like that. But I start hanging around somebody who's a 90 degreer. Let's say you're a 90 degreer, and you and I start talking more, and we get closer, we become friends. You have more of a pull, more of an influence on my life. All of a sudden, I'm going to find myself working out maybe 5 days a week, making my bed every morning, living a better life, because that's your influence. And when your thermostat is set to 90 and mine's set to 75, my thermostat's going to go up to maybe 80, 85. But that also means your thermostat's going to go down to 80, 85.
Yep.
And the more time you spend with people whose thermostats are set at a much higher degree than yours, the better your life is going to get.
Yeah.
And if you're spending time with people who are consistently lower than you in their standards for their lives, in any area, whether it's relationships, spirituality, finances, personal development, mindset, whatever it is, you're going to drop to their level, because there's no way around the law of influence. There's no way.
When you said the thermostat example, right? Because, like, for example, I'm with my boy Dalton right now and going to the gym. He's been going really consistently. And if you're watching this, my dude, I love you. Okay, so it's that if you want, say for instance, once again, I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal, right? So I go to the gym like 6 days a week, right? My boy Dalton, I'm trying to get him to go more often, right? So me, I'm at that degree of like 90, right?
Yeah.
And he only goes like maybe a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's that balance and sacrifice that you have. Like, you want someone to be living a better life, right? And they're currently not. And to get them to that level that you're at, once again, not saying that you're a better person overall, just in that specific area, if you want them to get up to that level of, like, say, going 6 days a week, right, you are going to have to sacrifice a little bit. Say, for instance, you have to change what time you go to the gym, right? You're going to have to change maybe how long you guys work out for in order to get them to that standard. Because just because it's well, for me, it's easy to go, like, for any of us, it's easy to go like 6 days a week, right? And it's like, whatever, but for like, individuals, once again, I'm not saying, like, Dalton, if you're watching this, I'm not saying anything bad, right? But I'm just telling you how it is. For individuals to go 6 days a week, like, that's kind of hard, you know what I mean? And it's like, damn, like, their bodies might not even be used to that. And I'm not saying you should go 6 days a week, but I'm saying if you want to go 6 days a week,
hang around people that go 6 days a week.
Yeah, exactly, and they'll pull you up to that standard. But also, you have to be the person that is at that standard. It has to be understanding that you are going to get pulled down a little bit, right? There is going to be a little bit of weight on your ankle, but that hopefully that weight won't be there for such a long time, because you are willing to lower your standards a little bit in order to bring another person up to that standard. And
well, it's not necessarily always a black and white thing.
Yeah, of course.
I found, because it's like, there's a lot of people that I'll spend time with that, again, so like, there's probably 6, 7, maybe 8 areas of life that have, at least for me, core value. Actually, like mental health, physical health, spirituality, religion, relationships, those kinds of things. But just because maybe I exercise more than you doesn't mean that now that my standard for exercise is better, that my standard is higher for myself than yours is for you. Because maybe your standard for your relationship with your family is higher than mine is, that you're not bringing me up in that area of life. So it's not just one area dictates all, but when you hang around people that value certain things higher than you do, they're going to rub off on you in certain ways that's going to bring you up. But the point is that if you consistently find yourself having higher standards in every area of life than somebody else is, you probably shouldn't be spending that much time with them, right? Like, if I'm hanging out with you and I find that I spend you don't meditate, you don't journal, you don't exercise, you don't have good relationships, you don't value yourself highly, you don't take care of your hygiene, you don't clean up after yourself. Like, if I find that you're consistently have lower standards than me in your life, like in all these areas, then it should be a giant red flag waving in your face. It's like, if you think that that's not going to have an influence on your life and that's not going to pull you down, you're sadly mistaken. And chances are you're probably already at that level anyways.
It'll pull you down entirely rather than just in
100%.
one specific area.
Yeah.
And that willing to sacrifice in that one area, I think is okay. But if you're willing to sacrifice your complete being as an individual, is not it.
Yeah, and like that's a good thing you bring up, Cal, sacrifice. And it's like, don't get me wrong, there's always give and take. There should always be give and take. But if you're given too much, you got to check yourself real quick. Like, that's another thing about staying present. It's just like, okay, how much time am I allotting to these certain things that I'm doing and to these certain people that I'm hanging out with? Like, and a lot of things you see today with people like our age is they put way too much into a relationship, way too much. And I said this on what was the first episode we did, on purpose or something?
Yeah.
I said this back in the first episode.
Days.
Don't make your purpose a person. And that's, I think, a lot of what people in our generation are missing. You know, you hear all these complaints about whether life sucks and shit like that, you know? And it's like, it's probably because they don't have adequate purpose. Because, like, culturally speaking, back when you were saying to the whole Western Eastern thing, it's like Eastern philosophy is a lot about, you know, the way. So, you know, you need to find your way and become, you know, find a purpose, something that you can put all of your time into, and it gives you meaning, you know? And it's like, in this Western culture, it's about money, it's about material, it's about fame, it's about all these superficial concepts. There's no true value in, you know, the way. So it's about finding value in something that's not as superficial, you know. And that's another thing with comparison too. Comparison is the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a byproduct of a lot of people's suffering. It's like, he's got this and I don't have that. She has this and I don't have that. You know, she looks this way, he looks this way. You know, it's all about that. You know, all that comparison bullshit, and it devalues you. And like, comparison to a degree is the swine that you should not be casting your pearls into. You know, it's like, I feel like this comparison should be a benchmark, not a, you know, I guess, standard. You know, it's like, okay, like in martial arts, for example, he's got a black belt, I don't. That should be something I should strive for.
Yeah.
Not like, that guy has a bunch of money, or like, that guy has this and I don't. Yeah. My purpose should be getting that. It should be, what does that guy know that I don't, that he can have that?
Yeah, I think the big thing is, like, you got to figure out. Here's the thing. When people talk about improving your mental health, a lot of times the whole thing of comparison, people will throw the baby out with the bathwater, where it's like, just don't compare yourself to anybody ever. But that's not useful.
No.
That's not useful at all. But you have to be cognizant of why you're comparing yourself.
Bingo.
And who you're comparing yourself to. Sure. And that's why the big thing that I always preach this from Jordan Peterson is, compare yourself to who you were yesterday.
Yes.
Because that's who you actually know. Because if I'm going to compare myself to some big baller like Elon Musk or some shit like that, I don't even know who he is. Yeah, there's so much that goes on with his life because he's a human being that comparing myself to him doesn't even make any sense, because I don't know all the idiosyncrasies of his life. I can't compare myself to him because I don't know him. Elon knows Elon. Jason knows who Jason is. And sure, there may be certain aspects that I can compare myself to other people in certain areas of life. Like you said with judo, like, if there's a black belt and you're a blue belt and you want to get to that black belt level, you can and probably should be comparing yourself to him. Say, okay, how is his moves better here? Where is he doing things better than me in this aspect, Where can I improve here? But that's just judo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's very black and white.
Yeah.
Like, and people who are unable to separate the difference between what you're comparing yourself to and why, and just kind of bunching it all together like, oh, well, she has bigger boobs than me, so she must live a better life than me. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I think it's super, super important to just benchmark yourself, bookmark yourself to who you are today, and then tomorrow compare yourself to who you were today. And unless you're doing that, you're always going to find yourself either miserable or putting yourself on way too high of a pedestal.
Yeah. And that's a big thing about comparing yourself today than who you were yesterday.
Yeah.
Because you need to. That's another thing I look at within myself is like, what am I doing today that I can be better than I was tomorrow?
Yeah.
What ceiling did I build yesterday that I can smash today? And like, it's always about self-improvement. You're like, I was talking to Cal about this on another podcast, and it was like, perfection is an illusory concept, but it is not one that is like bad to pursue. Because if you understand that there is no such thing as perfection, but if you pursue within yourself near perfection, that is something to be valued. Because it's good to be satisfied with yourself, but realistically, I know deep within I can always do better. There is always
dissatisfied.
Yes, exactly. So it's like going forward, it's like, okay, I kicked ass today, but what I can do better.
Yeah.
And it's all like, I am never, like you said, blissfully dissatisfied. Deep down, I am never truly satisfied with myself.
Yeah.
And that's not a negative thing. It's just how I view myself. It's like, okay, I did pretty good today, but I can do way better tomorrow.
100%.
And even if I did shitty that day, I'm like, okay, I have to do better tomorrow. Yeah. But it's like, it's about recognizing what's going on now and both comparing it to the past and future, staying present, recognizing who am I now and how did I learn from what happened before, and how can I use what I learned from before to develop me for the future?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it always, whenever I'm talking about these kinds of things, it always brings me back to like trying to understand what it's like for other people as well, where it's like a lot of people have hard ass lives.
Yeah.
Like,
You're not wrong.
life is shitty, and it's shittier for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm completely acknowledging the fact that I'm a white dude growing up in Connecticut, going to college for free as an RA is very, very, very much an advantage. I get that. Things are way easier for me to do than for everybody else. But that's not the point. The point is I feel good and I feel confident in myself for who I am is because whatever, let's say I have this much span of control over my life because I have all these advantages. I'm growing up in a society and in a country that's free, and I have all these resources at my availability. I was born in a family that has enough resources. Like, shit's good for me. I get it. So maybe I have this much that I can't control. So I can go to the gym every single day. I can decide when I want to work. I can go to school. I can meditate. I have the opportunity to read. I have the opportunity to journal. I have the opportunity to spend time with people that make my life better. I have all these opportunities. But what makes me happy is capitalizing to my 100%. Mm-hmm. And my span of 100% might be here, and yours might be here. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you're getting as close to 100% as possible, because that's what's going to make you love yourself. That's what's going to make you confident in who you are, because it doesn't matter what's given to you. What matters is that you're capitalizing on the things that you can capitalize on. You're getting better in the areas that you can get better on. And if shit's hard as fuck for you, like if you're depressed or you're anxious or you have anger issues and things are fucking difficult, that has nothing to do with your ability to get better.
Yeah.
Because just because it's harder for you and you have maybe less span of control over what life is throwing your way, it doesn't matter, because your 100% is your 100% and my 100% is my 100%. And just because it's easier for me to do more things doesn't mean that you can't do your own thing. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole thing with comparison, is like, maybe you're comparing yourself to me, or you're comparing yourself to somebody else who doesn't have as many things that life is throwing their way. And so you think, well, he's working out 7 days a week and meditating every day and doing all these things and creating content every day and having all this massive progress, thinking that that's what's making me way happier than you. But what's making me way happier than you is the fact that I'm capitalizing on more than you are, even though that In the grand scheme, it might seem like there's more. I'm just doing more of my 100% than you are of your 100%, even though those aren't the same things.
Yeah. It's good that you bring up the whole, like, emotion shouldn't stop you from becoming, like, 100% of yourself.
100%.
And it's like, go back to, like, quote Pete Davidson on this one, when he was doing that SNL thing, kind of memeing on Kanye. And it was like, mental illness isn't an excuse to be like a jackass, and having, like, emotional issues is not an excuse for you to be less than who you are.
Yeah.
And
well, it's an excuse. It's just not valid.
yeah, exactly. But it's like, you shouldn't be, like, I mean, that's kind of what my anger was doing for me, like, too. Like, I wasn't being an asshole or anything, but I did recognize that it was a weakness that I had not yet overcome. And having overcome it, it feels like there has been this weight that has been lifting off of my shoulders. And now I can truly see and become 100% of who I am. Because for a while, that 25% was killing me. Like, that 25% was the stopgap between me, and that was the anger. It's filling up a lot of space. It's filling up a quarter of who I was.
Yeah.
And now that space is open, and I can climb that ladder.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm 75% the way all there. I'm just saying I was only living up to 70. There was only 75% of my potential to be, actualized. And the other 25 was being blocked off by that demon. And now that it's gone, I have access to my full potential, truly. Because I now recognize that where I was held back before, I am free. That weight is lifted. It is gone.
Yeah.
But the lessons that it served me for those long 13 years of suffering was, like, invaluable to my life. And it's, you need to recognize that too. It's like going back to what we were talking about at the beginning. What is my emotion trying to show me?
Yeah.
And now my relationship with anger is now, it's a call to action.
Always.
And it's like,
Always.
it's like, okay, I'm pissed right now. Why? And it's like, oh, I'm not good enough yet. Get better. And then I go and do it. And it's like, I'm just always fucking moving.
Yeah.
So it's just chasing that 100%.
Yeah, but that's the thing I love about people like you and people who deal with things, whether it's anger or whatever their flavor is of life, that shit that's getting thrown their way, is that you're focusing on the things that you can control. And that's where the difference is. It's in the responsibility. Because it's not your fault that all this bullshit happened, but now it's your responsibility to do something about it.
Yeah.
And it's your responsibility to decide what meaning you're going to take from this anger or whatever it is that's being thrown your way. And if you're just going to blame life and blame the kids in elementary school for bullying you and blame your parents and blame society or whatever the fuck you want to blame, you're going to stay exactly where you are. Because now you make yourself powerless.
Yeah.
And if you can only control even 1% and 99% is out of your hands, you better damn well control that 1%. Because otherwise, nothing will ever get better. Yeah. Ever.
And the self-improvement journey never ends, And I think one of the big things that I was, like, picking up on what you guys were saying is, like, people that, I forget exactly what, it was the example when you were like, oh, he's meditating 7 days a week, he's exercising 6 times a week, X, Y, and Z. While, you're, I guess, meditating maybe like once a week, working out once a week, or maybe you don't work out at all. And it's like, he's doing what he's doing, I'm doing what I'm doing. And you have that desire within you to start working out 7 days a week, right? And so you hold those beliefs, right? And this is where the cognitive dissonance comes in, right? But your behaviors are not in alignment with those beliefs, right? And so with that, I feel like a lot of people get stuck in the conceptual barrier of trying to, like, all their attention is placed on that conceptual, like, how do I do this? How do I do this, right? And it's good, right? But they're just so fixated on, like, what they're doing. Meanwhile, they're not actually doing anything themselves, right? And they're not integrating, like, because the big thing is integrating those habits and behaviors. And over time, it becomes easier and easier and easier if you are able to actually do what the fuck you're doing, right? Like, get over that emotion maybe at the beginning where that's just like, oh man, I don't want to fucking meditate, right? But like once you get outside, like this is the intro to one of the other ones, right? Like when you get up in the morning, right? Like when you get up in the morning or like you don't want to get up in the morning, but as soon as you get up in the morning, you throw water on your face, you're good, you know? It's like once you fully you let go of all of the thinking, right? And it's just you, and you're just like fully, you're like in that flow mode of doing what you want to be doing. And then before you know it, like maybe you're meditating and like you're past all the thinking, like, oh Cal, don't stop meditating, go back to your comfort zone, right? You start to explore all these new different types, like the new area that you're in, and begin to make progress. Like, sure, meditating for the first time, you're not going to be a fucking expert about like what maybe mindful meditation, whatever type of meditation you're trying to do. But as time goes on, you're able to let go of those thinking, or let go of all of like the weights that are holding you down, and you're able to learn that new craft and progress. So really just, and this is a message for myself, you know, and I think probably for a lot of other people too. It's just like, stop thinking about it. Just fucking do it. Like, just fucking do it.
It's the power of momentum.
Exactly.
It's like you ever try to move like a heavy box across a rug or a floor. What's the hardest part? Is that initial push.
Yeah.
But once your legs are behind it and the force is behind it, it's so much easier to push the box across the floor. There's almost little to no effort. But that initial push is what's so difficult. But it's the same thing with any habit you want to build. Getting up and getting going in the morning when it's 4:30 in the morning and it sucks for about a minute. But that's the beginning of the pushing of the box. But once the box is going, once you're up and moving, things are easy. Same thing with going to the gym. Like getting up and then getting in the car and going to the gym is the hardest part of going to the gym. It's not the actual lifting of the weights. It's because that getting those gears going, shifting from one activity to another, is what causes that friction. And that friction's what's hard. What's hard isn't the activity in and of itself. What's hard is getting going. And that's the part I really try to emphasize to people, because if you can mentally remember that every time, it makes it a hell of a lot easier, because you'll know, like, it's going to suck for a second, and then I'll be good. But when you remember that's only going to suck for a second, it'll be fine, because people internalize it in a way, probably unconsciously, that like starting a habit, like if you're going to meditate or if you're going to exercise or whatever the habit is, that the amount of mental energy it's going to take is going to be here and it's going to stay here. That's not it. It's pushing the box. It starts here and then it goes down to here and you're fine. It takes little to no mental energy to continue it going because the momentum is built. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and good that you bring up momentum and that first initial push. Like, and I've been reading some Robert Greene lately, and I'm reading the 33 Strategies of War. And a good thing that it's like is create urgency. It's called it was called the Sun Tzu's called it the the death ground principle. Essentially, put yourself in situations where your back is up against the wall. Like the story he used as an example was, I think it was Hernan Cortez conquering the Aztecs. Like his men were trying to get out of committing to the fucking conquering. Like they were thinking about their wives and the gold and the riches at home. And so what Cortez did to inspire them to put everything they had in the fight was he sunk all the boats.
Burn the boats, baby. That's the fucking, oh my god. I love that you said that. Continue.
Yeah, he sunk the boats. So there is no going
so
home.
badass.
So we win or you all die. Yeah. That's how we're doing it. And they found that out, and he's just like, well, you could kill me, but that doesn't change the situation.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's what I'm trying to get so many people to do. If you want to build a habit, you burn the boats.
Yeah.
The big thing for me was like, or for anybody, is you burn the boats. Find something you value and leverage it against yourself. Yeah. So like for me, I value like making money and keeping my money, like and investing, and like that's what I value. So what I used to do is when I wanted to wake up really early in the morning is I would text my boy Alex, who granted you have to find someone that's going to hold you accountable, but I Venmo'd him $100 every morning for about a week. And every single morning I said, if you don't have a picture of me in the gym parking lot at 5 in the morning, you keep the money. You could bet your fucking ass. The second I woke up at 4:15 in the morning and didn't want to get up, I was like, I'm there. Because I burned the boats. There was no turning back.
Yes.
And you could do that with any habit you want to build.
Oh, yeah.
If you burn because that's the thing, is like people will get this super huge spike. You probably have had it yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Of like motivation, where it's like 2 in the morning, you're laying in bed like, now it's time to get my life together. But then you wake up in the morning and when the alarm clock goes off at 7, you're like, when you told yourself you're going to go to the gym, and you're like, hit snooze. Because that emotion's gone. But if you can take immediate action when that emotion's high and burn the boats, whether it's Venmoing a friend $100 and saying, you need a picture of me at the gym, or you need a picture of me, or you need proof of me doing this or that, and burning the boats in that moment, you'll completely set yourself up for success, because once you burn the boats enough times, you'll build momentum and you won't need to continually send that person money or whatever it is you're doing to leverage yourself to do, because you'll have the momentum behind you, right? And it's like working out 6 days a week is hard for about a week or 2 weeks, but after you have the habit built, it takes little to no mental energy or effort. Same thing with waking up early. If you wake up at 5 a.m. every day, it's hard for about a week, 2 weeks, but then after a while, it's just like, I'm up. It's like, it is what it is. But you could do that with any habit you want to build. You burn the boats initially. You cut off any opportunity of you being lazy and turning around and retracting whatever you wanted to do by leveraging yourself in whatever way it is. For me, it was Venmoing somebody $100 and saying, you need proof of me doing X, Y, and Z. But the second I did that, after about a week, 2 weeks, I had momentum behind me because the habit was already built.
Yeah. And it's like, I'll use the little kid example of when you're afraid of the dark and you turn the light off and you're like, if I don't get back to my room extremely quickly, I'm going to die. Like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like, you got to have that urgency in your mind.
It's a mental hack.
Yeah, when that light goes fucking off, you got to be in your bed, you know?
You did a leap across your floor.
Yes, exactly.
It was so funny, bro. I just want to mention this because my boy Dalton, he was like, I forget, it was similar to you, like when you're like at 2 a.m, right? You're like, oh man, I'm fucking ready, you know? Yeah. And then so my friend Dalton was like the 90-day hard challenge or whatever. He saw it. I was like, yeah, or something like that. And he was describing it to me on like one of the earlier podcasts, and pretty much he was like, you would wake up early in the morning, you work out twice a day. One of the workouts would be outside, you know, extremely strict diet. Yeah. And I was like, so how long did you last? He's like, dude, I never even fucking did it. Like, and I was like, I laughed my fucking ass off. It was so funny, but that is a perfect example of what you described. And yeah man, it's like one last thing I wanted to touch on was, before we wrap this bad boy up, because the camera footage is
a little dicey.
Yeah, look a little dicey. Yeah, it's when we get so caught up in like comparing ourselves, we get stopped in our tracks. Oh, yeah. And if you want to make progress, if you want to climb that mountain where maybe in a specific area where your friend may be at, so just remember that the climb is possible, right? Yes. But it takes patience, and it takes a willingness to possibly do things that get you. No. It requires things that do stuff out of your comfort zone. So whether it be burning your boats, and fucking Jay's example is a fucking amazing one. Sending your friend $100.
Yeah, dude, but just do it when you have that spike of motivation. Yeah, just do it. Because then when you don't have the motivation anymore, it's done. The boats are burned. There's no turning back. There's no turning back.
Yeah, the boats are on fire, sinking into the ocean.
Yeah, either you're going down with the boat.
Where are you going now?
Yeah, or you might be going down with the boat, or you can fucking make the swim and be a whole better version of you. And I think that is a great place to wrap up episode 29 of the Conscious Cast. So, any other final comments you guys like to say?
I'll leave you guys with this one. You know, like when you feel yourself getting in an emotional, state, take a step back, breathe, close your eyes, figure out what it's trying to teach you. And I was reading this book, this comic book called Vagabond, and there's this quote in it that I really love. And one of the characters asked, this kind of master, what does it mean to be invincible? And he said, invincible is just a word. And the more you try and interpret its value, the more you close your eyes and squint, the more distorted the picture comes. So take a step back, close your eyes, and see how infinite you truly are.
Clock it up. Oh, yeah. Good stuff.